point is starting at the beginning is not necessarily a bad thing. When you're talking about public speaking, for example, there's also a beginning point to it. It's almost like saying, forget everything everybody taught you and start from the very first step that you need to take. In public speaking, the very first step you need to take is to ask yourself, who is your audience? If you can't explain to you, if you don't know who your audience is, then you talk to people who are investing in your company like they're small children, and that's not good. Or you talk to a group of parents about their children like they're investors in a company, which could be good, but maybe the language would be very different. So I think the first question we always have to ask ourselves is, who's our audience? Why are they listening to us? Why should they listen to us? And so on. So you make an introduction video, which I did. Check. All right. Get coaching, get educated. You know, when we first start learning a language, we do start as amateurs, and we start with our most basic is learning the ABCs. We move on from there very quickly as adults, especially. But even as adults, we need help. When you're first learning English, you probably have an Korean, if you're Korean, you have a Korean teacher who speaks English very well so that they can give you both sides of the explanation. I certainly, when I was learning Korean, I had an excellent teacher who knew English like a native and could explain to me the rules in English and then have me practice it in Korean. But get coaching. As a teacher, I don't need to tell you. I take art classes, I take Korean classes, and so forth. Coaching, education, it's the bomb. All right, stop living the broken rule everyone else is living. This is a little bit more difficult to explain. They're talking about zigging and zagging. When people talk to you about zigging and zagging, you should have one image in your mind, and that is a big Z, right? A Z goes zigs and then it zags. Anyways, what you call it is not important. This is written by an American. It has a very basic American ideology. I saw a commercial in Korea for a sports outfit, and their tagline was follow. And I thought to myself, in America, this would never be follow. It would only be lead, right? Some cultures are more community or social oriented. The thinking is about a group of people, like Korean culture. Some cultures are much more individualistic, and they don't talk about following, they talk about leading. If we're here talking about English and we're talking about public speaking, then we're talking about leading. Why? Because the person, even though you are talking to a crowd of people and they all have to understand you in a similar way, you are an individual. You are standing in front of them. You are, in some sense, alone. We can talk more about it later. Okay? Consistent until you have a breakthrough. This is what we call not encouragement, self-help. When you're reading self-help material, you should be careful. Why? Because, for example, number 4 is be consistent until you have a breakthrough. So keep trying until you get it. Hey, I also said, you have to keep going. You have to keep doing. You have to make mistakes. This is supposed to be about life in general, right? Mine is about language acquisition. When you are studying a language, using it is the most valuable thing you can do. If you don't use it, it's still in your brain. It's just harder to get to. The longer you don't use it, the harder it is to remember. What was that word? Family. Here they're talking about life, and they're right. In life, consistency is important because basically, be you, right? Uh, Same thing is true for public speaking. Don't be somebody else. Be you. It's hard enough to get onto a stage. It's hard enough to talk to a group of people. It's hard enough to try and get them to understand or be convinced or hear you. Trying to do all of that and pretend to be a clown or pretend to be someone you're not, it's impossible. The best is to be yourself, and then there are other things you can do to get your message across, and we'll get there. Structure your entire life to optimize your performance. Again, self-help, they talk very big, but on some level we can understand them because we can say, if you eat unhealthy but jog every day or exercise every day, the scale is not balanced. If you're going to exercise, you should eat healthy. It helps your body. It makes you better at what you're doing. Just general life things, all right? Keep going. Allow time for recovery. This one's kind of a difficult one. I once didn't get a job because they looked at my resume and they said, we've noticed that you've only worked every place for 1 year. Now, there's a reason that my job looks like that. One of the reasons is because I wanted to live in Busan and I couldn't find the right job for me in Busan, so I went to Ulsan, but when my contract ended, I wanted to come back, so I was looking for work in Busan. There's a reason. That's the way my life has been, and so 1 year at one job, and that's fine. That works for me. Some people, especially in Korea, they'll enter a company and they'll just stay there for 15 years. That's also fine. That's also a choice that somebody made, right? But the question is, are you tired? I can tell you, everybody gets tired. Doing the same thing every day is tiring, okay? We're talking about the kind of tired that you get from doing the same thing all the time. Now, some people need to separate life and pleasure, and it works for them. They find balance. A lot of people probably don't. A lot of people just go to work and are tired. And you can see those people and you can see the way they're behaving, and you understand these people are not happy in their job and they're tired. Sometimes what people in Korea do is they'll get another job at the same company. Like they'll start in sales, they'll work in sales for a few years, then they'll get a job at HR and they'll bounce around. If you're one of those people, I think that's a good way to solve the fatigue problem, the problem of being tired by your job, because change is good, change is interesting. Some people don't like change, or too much change is not good, so they've solved it in this way. Remember, for me, all of these things are just conversations that you can have with another person. So when somebody talks to you about work, what kind of job do you do is a very common question. You can say, oh, I'm working in HR now, but I was working in sales. The reason I moved was A, B, C. I'm much happier now. I'm not as happy now. This job was as good, not as good. Conversation is moving, and that's very important because for me as a teacher, you're using your English. Cha-ching. For you as a student, you're practicing sentence constructions, thinking in English, using your English. But in general, basically, you're sharing information with your conversation partner, and that means you're getting closer. So, win, win, win. Yes. All right. Pre-performance routine that gets you in the flow. Again, this is self-help stuff. And the last, there's two more. There's embrace fear and suffering. Hey, I'm also telling you to embrace fear and suffering. I'm telling you, you have to make mistakes. Nobody likes to make mistakes. Mistakes are embarrassing, but it's part of language. And I actually feel comfortable making a mistake. You know, I'm married to a Korean. When I'm speaking Korean, there's a lot of laughing. And I just go with it because they're talking to me. And hey, that's what I want. I want them to keep talking to me. What I don't want is, hey, what are you guys talking about? Can you explain it to me? And then, no, just forget it. Then there's a divide. They're there and I'm here, and the two are not interacting. So even if you're making mistakes, if you let the laughter be what it is, move forward, then you're moving forward. All right. Embracing fear and suffering. That's embracing fear and suffering. Do it because of love. One of the most important things about learning English and these kinds of readings that I'm giving you, they're not the average reading you would get as an ESL student. I'm using things from the internet that anybody in the 20 to 40 age range group would have access to, find easy to read. And I mean, it's called pop psychology, but it's still interesting enough, and it should have something for everybody. That's why self-help is so popular. So, do it because of love. I also think you should do it because of love. And what I'm going to point to is you should find reading topics that you read because you love them. So I had one student who wanted to read history, and I'm a big fan, so that was no problem. Some students want modern communication between natives. So, for example, you can go to something like Reddit. Let me write that out for you. So, Reddit. And there are thousands of topics. You just click on something. If it's interesting, you read it. If it's not, you move on. There's so much. There is so much to read. It is not possible that you have not yet found something that's interesting to you. And if you're interested, then you're reading. And if you're reading, you're improving your English. So do it because of love. I agree. All right. That was the homework for the reading part. Okay. When it comes to the speaking part, everyone should be able to say things like, what's your name? What do you do? What are your hobbies? Those are easy. Be sure to be able to answer those questions. You can make a video and send it to me. My information will be linked at the bottom. Or you can try HelloTalk or Language Exchange with other natives. Also very important and invaluable. Okay. When it comes to the grammar, I will post the answers. I'll post the answers in another link. So there'll be a link for the homework. There'll be a link for the answers to last lesson's homework. All right, that took up a lot of time, but time well spent, I think, because what we are going to talk about today is